Hello, everybody. This is Scott Young and Sean Sturby from Optrics Engineering. Sean Sturby, of course, is our Technical Services Manager. And we're doing these interviews largely to be a resource for IT professionals out there. I know Sean keeps tabs on what's going on out in the IT world, largely from a security and a IT management perspective. And I know you share these with our staff at our weekly meetings. So we thought we'd do the same with you guys and pass those tips on. So what are the top 3 things you're seeing out there this week, Sean?
The first thing that I want to talk about is all of these work from home PCs and patches. Last week was Patch Tuesday, and Microsoft released about 120 different patches. Lots were against Microsoft Office. And the critical one was the one related to a remote code execution, or RCE as it's called in the industry. In this particular case, it's a malformed font. So if you receive an email or a document that has one of these malformed fonts, you can open the document. Somewhere hidden in it will be one of these malformed fonts. And when your PC goes to go and take a look at that font, it'll actually execute the malware writer's code. So now your computer is not your computer. It's been joined to some sort of a botnet and possibly could be used for doing other things like sending out more malware or sending out spam. So if it's a corporate-owned device, we definitely want to adopt it into our regular patching schedule. But what about people working from home using their own PCs? Are they all patched and up to date? And what about the other devices such as tablets and cell phones?
Well, that's a good question. And usually the patching tool that we recommend is ManageEngine's Desktop Central, but there's lots of different options out there. And I think also F-Secure, which is antivirus, allows you to also keep an eye on what's patched as well.
And can push out patches.
Okay, well, it's good to know. And the other question I want to throw out there to people watching is with respects to people employees using their own personal computers at home, is the question, you're giving them access to your network and you're also assuming perhaps that they have a patched computer. And that's just, so the question is, what standards are you wanting the home users to have in terms of even being up to date on Windows 10 and not being an end of life Windows 7 or XP, what the patching expectations are. Now, I guess to a certain degree, you can't force employees to do things on their own personal computers, but you certainly can set standards and offer a work computer to connect to your network. So something to think about is just what your organization's policy is going to be around the use of personal computers to access the network, the corporate network. Excellent. Okay, so let's talk about the second thing that you're seeing out there.
The other interesting thing was around spam messages. Google reported that they saw more than 18 million daily malware and phishing emails specifically related to COVID-19 last week. And this was on top of 240 million daily messages that were more generic, coronavirus spam. So these are scam related to personal protective equipment. You want to buy the masks or the face shields, or the other one cures. These spammers are taking advantage of people's fear to try and sell them the cure for this COVID-19.
Wow.
Now, in this case, Google's reporting on what they see. So these were also sent to Gmail addresses and Gmail for business addresses. Question to ask is, how many of your users are implementing shadow IT and are using their personal Gmail addresses for work now? Google's doing a great job at stopping all of these messages, but what if one sneaks through? Would your users be able to recognize spam messages? What kind of training do you have? And while we are definitely keeping them up to speed at the office, what about on their home email accounts? Do we want to reach out to them and offer to take a second look at a spammy message and say, yes, we agree this is spam, you should delete it?
Mm-hmm. And I know that's something that our staff are pretty good at, is at any time there's a questionable email, they're pretty good at sending it to you and making sure you give it the thumbs up or the thumbs
Thumbs
down.
down. Yes.
But that's also a fair point, that it's easy when it's an internal email, but when it's a personal use email that's being used not just for themselves but also for the organization, don't let your guard down, people. Make sure you double check. Perfect. Okay, what's the final thing that you're seeing out there, Sean?
There was an article here recently about CMR versus SMR, or what are called conventional magnetic recording hard drives and shingled magnetic recording hard drives, specifically being used in NAS or network attached storage computers or devices. So what's the difference between a conventional magnetic recording hard drive and a shingled magnetic recording hard drive? Basically, the shingled magnetic recording is overwriting and putting the tracks together on the hard drive a lot closer together. And they can do that. There's tricks to do that. And it's great for getting more capacity in the same footprint for archive or cold storage type drives. What happened though was they did not disclose that they were using the shingled magnetic recording on drives specifically marketed towards network attached storage or NAS systems. So people were finding that initially, if you put in a bunch of hard drives, they would work fine. But it was only when you went to replace one because of a failure or some other issue that the way the shingled magnetic recording drives, SMR drives, work, they, especially if it was like a mixed environment where you had half of them were conventional and half of them were shingled, they don't work the same way. They time out. It takes a lot longer for them to do that process of rewriting the data much tighter together. And so they were getting a lot of RAID rebuild errors. Well, that's a problem. So the industry is now demanding that the manufacturers completely disclose whether or not, especially for what's critical storage, if they are using conventional magnetic recording or shingled, just so that the buyer is aware and they can make that informed decision.
So I could see there's a lot of most likely frustrated network admins and IT staff who are trying desperately to make sure all their data is backed up, and then they're getting all these errors, and they don't know why. And it seems to me often it's that thing you never think about, or something new, or that when you're trying to troubleshoot something, it's just you've gone through all the checklists of things, and whether it's shingled or not is probably the last on your list.
So that does highlight that, to do a backup properly, you have to have 3 copies on 2 different media in different locations.
Right. Fair enough. Well, interesting. Okay. Anything else you want to add, or those are the top 3 things IT people should know this week?
Those are the highlights that I'd seen this week. So I'm sure that there will be many, many more things over the next week.
Sure. Well, there's always lots of things to talk about, but thanks for keeping your ear to the ground, Sean. Much appreciated. Hope everyone found this discussion helpful, gave you some ideas, some things to think about when it comes to patching computers, when it comes, especially coming up with some sort of a plan and policy for your organization. Watch out for the COVID spam. I'm sure you've seen it lots, but not just for your work email addresses, but personal email addresses, and make sure your staff know what not to click. And then finally, pay attention to the type of hard drive you have, especially for your
critical backups.
Critical backups, exactly. All right. Well, thanks, Sean. Much appreciated. And if you found this video and interview useful, please like, share, subscribe. And if there's a topic that you would find interesting that you'd like us to discuss down the road, please put those in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And of course, if you have a question, don't hesitate to reach out to us through our website, Optrics.com, OPTRICS.com. Have a great week. Stay safe. Bye for now.
Bye.